What does your hero do to win lanes, generally?
Generally kill people.
And are you a trading hero, a kill hero? What do you lose to? Like, what kind of lanes do you struggle against? I mean, you're master tier CM, so give me your best description.
So I would say that I struggle against mobile heroes and also heroes that can out-sustain my damage because I wear them down with my spells and then I go for the kill. So Abaddon is quite good at this because he has his shield and he can purge my frostbite.
Have you thought about heroes that can out-trade you from further range than you can kite them?
Yeah, that's one of the categories. Like also Sky would be in this.
Yeah, so like if you look at all of CM's really bad carry matchups, for instance, they're all heroes that are ranged and can just hit her, even though they're slowed. The heroes that she's really good against are heroes she can kite, so that's actually a big part of her kit. So not only can you not really kill them, because your hero is a kill hero, but because they can shield off your abilities, but you also can't really out-trade them because Techies is 700 range and he hits for 60 damage. I mean, it's just Techies. This hero is absolutely fucking broken. I assume it's Techies.
Yes, Techies and Abaddon.
Okay, yeah, I mean, Techies is just broken for a reason. Like, he's 700 range, hits for 58, and he has a low cooldown, 90 damage nuke that's slow, so it can hit you more. So, like, I'm thinking, like, how do you ever win, right? He's 58 damage, you're 49, and he's going to keep getting more damage. He outranges you by 100. He out HPs you by 150. He out armors you by 5. These are just, you're going to lose this lane in terms of trades. So how do we play? Can't really trade with the Techies. So that means we have to play the opposite side of the lane than Techies. That means we have to basically let him pelt on the Wraith King, but then we need to hit the Abaddon. We just need to hit him. We want to make the Techies want to feel like he has to hit us instead of the Wraith King, but we can't make that convenient for him, so we have to play the opposite side of the lane than him. Basically, what happens is the Abaddon will start saying, hey, this guy's hitting me, you know? And then the Techies will have to stop hitting your Wraith King. I mean, like, or maybe he won't stop hitting him, but this is definitely the best you can do. On top of that, we're talking about a lot of inefficient interaction here. Like, we're just saying, like, anytime we're trading with them, it's on average going to be better for them. So that means the pull camps are absolutely essential. Like, we have to have the small camp dewarded by 2 minutes. We just, like, absolutely have to have that happen. If it's not, then there's really nothing we can do. So, you know, I'm just giving you stuff that I think about prior to the lane, and then anything you do that fits that is great. Anything that doesn't, you know, we can talk about. So, definitely, you know, your hero's always good for securing range, and Wraith King's not, so... Yeah, so in this case, we're already playing the same side of the lane as Techies, which I wouldn't have liked. I would have wanted to be to the right, once again. I would be over here. It's a really big deal that you choose this, by the way. It's like a really big deal. So you guys are fighting them. So if you... This is the stuff I want viewers to see, and I need you to see. I literally outlined all the reasons you guys will never win trades, and you guys are just fucking brawling.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are just fighting them. It's like, what? I need you to avoid Techies on the side, hit the Abaddon, defensive aggro for your Wraith King in cases like this, where he's, like, really low, and you're fucking invisible. Where he's really low, he's all the way back there. I just need you to pull creeps for him here. Just aggro. You know? Walk up and aggro. That's what I need you to do for him. Don't hit this guy. Aggro for your Wraith King. Do things that he would want to do. Aggro for him. So the entire lane, I mean, I'll just put in here. How much do we interact? That's when positioning on what side of the lane you choose as a support is really important. As a core, it's really important to use defensive aggro in games like this. So that's the vibe that I like spelled out at the start of the game, and you guys are just doing the complete opposite. So yeah, that's about all I got. If you have any questions, let me know.
So would you say that your rule of thumb is to avoid interaction when they are like stronger heroes?
So to avoid being... To disclaimer being condescending, what else would you do?
My reasoning here was to try to soak as much damage and as much attention as I can, just to avoid it, just avert it from Wraith King and let him hit the creeps.
I got you. So do you... That's like a literally correct answer, but do you hear that I wanted you to do the same thing?
Yeah, but like in a different way.
Yes. Perfect. So that's great. So... What we're basically learning today is the way concepts get viewed. So you see, as a 6K player, you're still a very high MMR player. You see that like Wraith King's at threat of getting harassed a lot, so you want to reduce that. And you're a fucking CM, and you're standing in front of him. It's like, if you're an Undying, sure, do that. If you're a CM, stand on the opposite side, make the techies come to you kind of shit. You know, play like more of a kite them in position, you know, kind of lane. So, yeah, it's the same goal, different approach. So what you kind of learn at the highest level is that there's a lot of different ways to do the same things. And that's why we tend to, like, as high MMR players will be, like, higher than you, will be condescending towards you and will be like, what are you doing? You know, like, and you're like, I'm just trying to soak damage. And I'm like, I want you to stand over here, you know? That's the kind of stuff where, like, as a carry, it makes me uncomfortable because I can tell the support doesn't know the lane dynamic, you know? So, like, the thing about it is, at your bracket, if you improperly lane, instead of your carry adjusting and, like, playing more passively, like, what he's supposed to do if you play him properly is be more passive. That's, like, what he's supposed to do because he can't play into, like, a bad play style. It just results in more and more losses. But what people are going to do is they're going to play into your play style. Like, they're going to do that because they're not good enough to adjust. Like, 6K players will not adjust, okay? 6K players will usually do, like, the right thing that's in front of their face. You're being aggressive on the left, Wraith King's going to be aggressive on the left. An 8K or 9K player would be like, what is this CM doing? And defensively aggro to the right. That's what they would do. So what I want you to know is that you're not in control of what this Wraith King does. But if you want to get out of this bracket, you can't put him in situations where you're leading him into this. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's your role as a support. Because, like, at the 8K, 9K level, if you're a support player, you would do this properly anyway. Like, you would be doing what I'm saying. But the way it'll manifest in your games is your carries won't get baited to do things. Like, that's how I want you to know, like, it will have impact in your games, despite the fact that sometimes your carries will still throw. So, yeah. Okay, so we get the D ward off. Obviously, it was a bit late because of what happened in lane. So this is the type of lane that I believe you guys are already disadvantageous. Like, you're already unfavored in this lane. Yeah. And then because of the level 1, level 2 engagement, it's now even worse. I mentioned pregame that, like, you had to have the pull ready by 2 minutes, and because of what happened level 1 and 2, you didn't have the pull ready at 2 minutes. And then because you don't have the pull ready at 2 minutes, Wraith King's still laning heads up against a bad techies because he's laning heads up in a lane that you guys can't win. He dies. You're seeing how all this just piles on, right? So it compounds. So what I'm trying to show you as a 6.5K player is that you are probably on the right track with the way you think about the game, but there's going to be layers that you're missing, and there's going to be methodologies that you don't, like, have in your toolkit. You know, we already talked about this one, doing the same thing in a different way. But just know, like, we can line these things out, and, like, at 0 minutes, I said you needed the pull by 2 minutes, and this just shows you why. Like, I'm showing you in the game why. So these are the kind of things you can start to think about when your carry's dying, or when things are going poorly in your lane. I'm adding options and adding things that I hope weren't previously considered and are now, like you said, you're not going to do them right away, but like the rune, but you might, like, be like, oh, my carry died at 3 minutes. I had to have that pull ready by 2. And say you knew that, right? And there's a game where you just something happened and you didn't get the D ward off. You can literally say, like, hey man, I didn't get the pull D ward. Be careful. Like, I'll do, you know, didn't communicate, you know, just say something like, just be careful. I can't help you, you know, something like that. These are all good things because you knew what you were supposed to do, and sometimes you just don't. Sometimes, you know, a lot of chaos can happen in Dota, so sometimes it's not even like you forgot. There's just something that prevented you from doing it. Okay, so you got the pull stack off. So as long as their pull camp is blocked and yours is available and they're keeping it near your tower, then I'm all good with this. That was a missed pull opportunity right there. I think it's really important in lanes like this that you pull right before the catapult. It's like absolutely essential. So I want you to think about these things. I needed you to pull this camp sometime between 4 and 5 minutes because you stacked it, okay? The reason why it's so important to kill this stack is because if you pull it 5 minutes against high pressure lanes, we don't want the camp to kill it. We don't want the camp to kill the wave. What the whole point of pulling at 5 minutes and 15 seconds is that you get the creep wave that has their catapult to go into your tower, and then you have this creep wave come shield you from a dive. Okay?
Yeah, so I actually heard also Nico Baby talk about this in his like gamers class, I think.
Yeah.
And so I have this concept in mind, but I didn't think this is the right time because we have waves so close under the tower, and I was afraid of them just diving Wraith King with this big wave into us.
Absolutely. So I understand. I was like watching the last minute, and I noticed it was very difficult to pull. So all of the reasoning I'm coming with at you right now is that in a high pressure lane, it's often very good to single pull at 515. Okay? All of this reasoning stems from that. Okay? So what happens is you stacked at 4 minutes, and then you struggle to pull because they were just constantly shoving in the lane and you couldn't do anything about it. What does that tell you?
It's a hard lane, man.
You don't fucking stack at 4 minutes if you can't pull it. That's what it tells you. Like, that's what it tells you. I'm hoping, like, I'm helping you realize there's things you need to do in the game, and there's going to be things that randomly prevent you from doing it, right? And so all Dota is a lot of reverse engineering. It's like, oh, I wanted to pull at 515, like knowing it exists. So it's like, I wanted to pull at 515, single pull to defend our tower, but I couldn't because the camp was stacked, and I couldn't pull because they were shoving it into our lane. So maybe in the future against lanes that are constantly threatening to shove into us, I don't want to stack pull. I only want to stack pull if the lane's being shoved out, like over here. Right? Because that's when stack pulls are useful, because I can kill off the entire wave, put it right back in front of our tower because it fixes lane equilibrium. But the lane's not good if it shoves into us. So then it's like, if they're winning, then we need the lane to be like the single pull to be used rather than a stack pull. You know, I'm just rambling, but I think it's all very relevant. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are just thoughts. Like, this is why Dota is so fun, but also complicated. It's like, you know, these dynamics of who pushes the lane, who's stronger, when a single pull or a double pull is good. You know, all this stuff matters a lot. So we're going to go back to the 5 minute mark. What I'm telling you is because it might not happen this game, but I'm like bracing my butthole for them to dive you guys right now. That is what I am bracing. Okay, I am clenching it. It is clenched fucking hard right now, bro. So here it comes. Let's see if it happens. It's a mounting. They've got the double range.
You can pretend that never happened.
Okay, it didn't matter. Phew. So you actually, I fast forwarded through that. I TP'd top. Bear in mind that all these things I'm telling you are just potentially going to go wrong. They don't always go wrong. That's not me saying like I'm right or wrong. It's just like sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. Half the time it's because the opponents capitalize on it or not. Okay.
Pretend that
So
never
you recognize that the pressure's gone and you TP top, or you go through top?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I was a bit late for this, but eventually we made up for it.
No, I mean, I think this is a good rotation. Like, I think based on what I saw bottom, they weren't pressuring anymore, so you didn't have to be bottom, and then you saw a co-op with low resources. Is that a co-op support? No, it's a co-op mid. Lone Druid jungle? What's going on here?
I think it was Cop Carry, I mean core. The real carry
Oh, it's
was-
mag support.
Yeah.
I see, co-op carry. Interesting. Even better.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I was so TP to mid after I died top, and I wanted to do something with Wind Ranger. But she didn't seem really responsive to this, and this was like the pattern that was happening over the game. So
Okay.
I was left without a purpose for a while. I went back bot to get some XP, and I just wasn't feeling sure what to do next. After like 7 minutes.
What are your thoughts on this current moment right now?
So Wraithkin is cheating because he is level 5. He should be fine jungling. I wanted to take over the lane to get my 6 and maybe do something with it.
Fantastic. Now what do we need to do? Like, how do we go about doing that? Do you feel comfortable walking up to the lane up here?
No.
Okay, then what do we need to do?
I guess get the lane back.
Single pull it, baby. Let's fucking go. I do this all the time. Most important tool. It's become incredibly important, much more now than ever, between like minute 7 and minute 15 to just randomly pull camps to fix lanes. Like, there's a lot of lanes where we want to soak, and in the past, it wasn't that scary to be right here. Now, there's a flank path. You don't want to be here anymore. You can't shield yourself as a support or even a carry. So watch my stream. Watch other people's gameplay. It can be cores. It can be supports. They just randomly pull camps when they want the lane and they don't want to walk up that far. Like, watch my offlane games. I'll literally pull this camp at minute 13 because I don't feel safe up here, but I feel safe with the lane back here. So I want you to know, like, this is a huge one. I was actually considering making a video about this. It's so huge and it's so simple and nobody does it. So, like, I mean, I only started doing it because I noticed how it was happening to me. Like, people were doing it to me in my games and I was like, this is fucking annoying. And then I started doing it. That one's a really simple one that I need you to start catching, okay? It's, like, simple in practice, but, like, this is that moment of awareness where you're like, I want this lane too far up, pull. That should be the ideal, you know, eventual thought process you go through here.
Okay.
So the thing is, in this exact case, you kind of just sat there waiting for the lane to push in instead of getting a pull camp. And then what would happen is if you did the pull camp thing, you were never going to be vulnerable to a gank. And then you'd also get like that extra 80 or 90 gold from the pull camp. And Abaddon would not get that gold because he just got it.
Yeah.
So it's more like 70 gold. But yeah. So that's like 140 gold swing, you know, potential risk of dying. A lot of little things that hurts by not doing that. That's why it's like so fucking important. Okay, so what happened here? You see an engagement top, so you TP behind this guy.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
but you're
wanted to get it as soon as possible because Evangeline was hitting it, but we were a bit late.
This patch, the mid tower doesn't matter nearly as much as it used to. And you would only really TP mid if you could single-handedly stop him, which you can't. Or your teammate is stronger than him and is already there. So those are the type of situations in the current meta that I would just be like, what can you do? I can't save this mid tower. So just let it go.
Okay, yeah, and here on bot it's going to be like a very awkward engagement. Awkward engagement on bottom lane, and I used my ulti here. I wasn't sure if it's like actually doing anything, but my team then came bot and connected, and we got some kills. So eventually it ended up good, but I don't think it was by virtue of me playing good.
Do you know what term I used for this fight? What you're doing. What are you doing in this fight? It's called cautiously assisting.
Okay.
That's the term. I'm just going to put in my notes because it is the most important thing that I didn't do in my previous pub because I was tilted. I'm not going to make excuses. I was tilted, so I did not stick to my own guns. Cautiously assisting. When you see something where you're like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know, but it's going. Like, that's what's happening, you know, that feeling? That's when you defensively assist when you're nearby. So what that means is, like, you can randomly use your ultimate. Like, that was a defensive ulti, you know? Like, you did that so he didn't go on you, right? Like, if you didn't do it, then the Abaddon with the bear just runs at you, right? So that's why you did that ultimate. And then you've been playing the fight where you kite them and all that kind of stuff. I don't need you to know what's going to happen here. I need you to know that it feels a bit strange that you're down here and you have employed the cautiously assist strategy. That's all I need you to know. And, like, let your instincts take over from there. Like, you'll spellcast properly and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you'll die, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But what I need you to not do is, like, overly extend because you feel like you need to do something, you know, run in suicide because you're trying to save somebody or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just cautiously assist. And as long as you do that, which is what I saw here, so I'm happy with, like, what you did. That's the thing is, like, these type of situations happen all the time in Dota where you're like, is this okay? I'm not really sure. How do I feel about this situation? And that's fine. It's just what we do with that, right? So in this case, what you did is good. But I want you to be able to be like, the only thing I'm really critiquing right now is that I want you to be able to come to me and say, like, you know, BSJ, this was a weird fight, so I kind of helped, but that was, you know, I want you to be content. Like, I want you to be like, yeah, that was weird. I tried to cautiously assist. And that's it. You know? Okay.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't sure about playing bot in general because I saw this top tower as our next objective, so I wasn't comfortable with forcing or conducting fights on bot lane because it doesn't get us closer to the top tower.
Okay, so I apologize if anybody has watched a lot of my past content and they think there's a formula in Dota. There's no fucking formula anymore, okay? Like, look at the fucking map. It's 40% larger, and there's a bunch of shit, okay? So, what I'm trying to say is that in my previous game, which was a very low MMR average for me, I think it was like 7.3 or something. I had like everybody was like 1400 or lower. I had the first time where somebody asked, where should we play on the map? What objective are we going for? That was the first time this entire patch that somebody has said that to me. I'm not even exaggerating. Do you know why? Because that doesn't fucking exist anymore. It literally doesn't exist until like 20, 25 minutes. Like, until we start thinking about like maybe Roche, because we have like the ability to 5-man, you know, and do Roche. Until that point, the entire map is vibes, my friend. It's like, is this lane pushing in? Are they pressuring here? Where are we pressuring? Are we weak? Are they strong? Like, what can we do? And so, like, if your vibes took you to the bottom lane, then that's just it, man. Just roll with it. Like, don't think about this is our next objective. It's like, you can be thinking, if my team goes top, I'll be ready for it. You can think about something like that, you know? But, like, what I mean is, all the towers you're going to take, all the fights you're going to take are just purely based off of momentum in lanes. If you're, like, wondering about top tower and you see your teammate pushing it in really hard and he's got a catapult, that's a push. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I know it's a push. It's nothing to do with timing or tower or anything like that. What I'm hearing from you is maybe a bit outdated of concepts, which, you know, it's not hard to do. It's like, you know, outdated by like a month and a half. So it's like totally understandable. So the game is not nearly as formulaic as it used to be. The main thing is timings. The only formulas on the map right now are timings. So runes, wisdom runes, lotuses, those are the formulas right now, okay? The things that give you things on the map, you know, buffs and XP and gold from the bounty runes, and those are the timings, okay? Those are the things you play around, and towers are kind of like, if there's nothing else to do, sort of deal.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
You see that the 40-minute mark is coming up, and the wisdom rune is gonna spawn. Do you play around that? Like, do you plan your moves around that? Do you like pressure bot side of the map to secure their room and not lose hours? Like, what's your plan? Do you even consider the wisdom rune to be worthwhile?
I mean, the wisdom rune is super, super important, but you're not exactly a hero that's like good at doing that. You're also not exactly in a position. So this is what I look at, man. So you're asking me a question. Do we set up and pressure that bottom wisdom rune? How did I tell you that top was a push? What did I say?
Catapult, momentum.
You have momentum on top. Do you have momentum on the bottom half of the map?
Not really.
No, you have a Wraith King that's sitting underneath his tier 2 getting shoved out by an Abaddon, right?
Yeah.
So I would want you to look at this and be like, oh, they have momentum down here. Guess we're playing for our own.
Okay.
That's literally all I need from you. Like, I want you, like, so it sounds like, you know, last time I gave you 3 or 4 concepts and the momentum one wasn't highlighted for you, like you were busy working on the other ones, and that's totally fine. So let's really emphasize, like, for the next time you show up, to have these like runes or towers or wisdom runes where you're like, BSJ, we had momentum here, so I did this, or I thought we had momentum here, so I did this, or like, I didn't know what else to do, so I did this because, you know, my guy was defending against their momentum.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's like what dictates everybody's moves right now. Do you have a question?
Yes. How would you compare going onto the momentum that is already existing instead of like creating one where you think it should be? Like, what's more beneficial when I'm playing just solo?
It's a good question.
I guess it's easier to go where the team already is, but sometimes it's really bad.
I think it's way easier to go with your own team's momentum right now than it is to go against theirs. To be clear, if the lane's shoving in, but your guy like doesn't have cooldowns or doesn't have items, like that's not momentum. It's just the lane shoving in.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean is every time the lane's getting pushed into you, it's like, by minute 14, is it reasonable to have bottom lane pushed into their bottom tier 1? Is that reasonable? You know, that's what it would take for me. Is it reasonable, you know, if my guy's pushing top and we bring 4 heroes and they bring 4, what's going to happen? These are things where I'm telling you that the momentum on the map gives you choices. I'm not telling you that it makes you do anything. So you're asking me about objectives and all that kind of stuff that you're thinking about. I'm trying to tell you that this is what I basically consider for everything, is like an overarching concept of like who has momentum where, If they have momentum bottom, I'm tentatively ready to counterplay if I think it's an option. If we have momentum top, I'm ready to make a play there. And all of that kind of gets matched up against what objectives are on the map and shit at that time. You know, it's like if we have momentum on bottom lane, maybe it's not worth capitalizing on to get tier 1. But if it's 13 minutes into the game and we have momentum bottom, that's probably a smoke to try to take the tower and then get the wisdom rune. You know? So a lot of the timing on the map just kind of tells you, you feel this momentum, what do you do with it?
Okay.
You know? That's really all I'm trying to say. And a lot of that is not really about towers. But the towers would be a method of fighting them, not a method of taking a tower. We are a little bit over. Do you have questions about today's session?
No, I think this is clear.
Cool, man.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. See ya.